All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. So this is Running Basics 101. So today we are just going to talk about kind of basics around running. So just to let you know who's going to be talking today. Hi, I'm Jenna. I'm a physiotherapist here at Human Integrated Performance. And then with me, I have Sean, who's a registered massage therapist here. As well as Maddie, who is one of our kinesiologists here at HIP.
Alrighty, so we are going to start off our webinar by busting some common myths that we do hear about running. And then we'll kind of jump into how to get into running, where to really start, and how to set yourself up for the best possible run and your best possible running season. So that'll include how to warm up, what to avoid when jumping into running, how to recover, and how the practitioners here at Human Integrated Performance can help you along every step of the way.
Okay, so we are going to start with the first myth, which is running is bad for my knees. Although running can be bad if you start too quickly and too heavily with no other training in mind, it actually is very good for your knees because it helps strengthen the muscles and the ligaments. And yeah, next one. I'm going to lose a ton of weight when I start running. This is also not true. You're not going to lose a bunch of weight from running. It is more so the nutrition and all the other agendas that you can follow with it. I don't need to do any other exercise if I'm running. Also not true. Running is great for cardio, although you should incorporate stretching. You should incorporate some strength exercise, just to balance everything out. I should always stretch before running. This is not true. Dynamic warm-ups are very important before running. Static stretching is more important for after running. Yeah, okay, so next one, sorry. I'm not skinny young enough to start running. Nobody is not anything to not start running. It's just having the right protocols and the right training plan in mind when you are starting.
Perfect. Thanks, Sean, for that. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about where to start. So if you're someone who wants to get into running, especially now with the warmer weather that we're having here in Edmonton, a lot of people are starting to get out more on the trails. So a couple of things first to keep in mind before you just jump into a program. First thing to think about is footwear. And footwear does kind of depend on what your gait type, what your foot type, how your foot moves a little bit. But in general, you're going to want something that has a little bit of support, a little bit of cushion on your heel. And you're going to want to make sure that your running shoe fits properly so that it's not squishing your foot or it's not too big. And then your foot is kind of like sliding in the shoe. So I would say if you are serious and interested in getting into running, try to go somewhere where they're a little bit more specialized in like helping out with footwear. So somewhere like the running room is usually really helpful. As a physio, I can make some kind of basic recommendations around footwear as well. But basically what you want for sure is a little bit of heel cushion and a little bit of arch support, and then making sure that you have that proper fit as well. The second thing that's really important when you're first starting out is you're going to want to start slower probably than you might want to. And that means both with speed and both with the frequency that you are running. Oftentimes people go out either running way too fast or way too frequent. And when our body isn't ready for those types of loads and we don't have the endurance and the strength in our muscles and our bones and our joints, in order to keep up with that amount of like repetitive load, that can be a time when you start to run into injuries. So that being said, kind of goes into my next point, which is it's really helpful if you follow a program or a schedule with your running so that you have kind of a laid out plan and you're not just going out there blind and just saying, oh, I'll just run a couple kilometers today, a couple kilometers tomorrow, and not really thinking about like a periodized or like planned kind of plan for your running, so that you don't end up getting hurt, and that you can achieve your goals and improve faster if you actually do like take some breaks, and plan out your run so that you have a day for recovery in between, and kind of plan that with the rest of your activity too, so that you're getting, as we were saying before, getting some muscle strengthening, some mobility exercises in throughout your week, as well. And this again kind of leads into my next point, which is it can be really helpful if you think about some short and long-term SMART goals. So that's making specific, measurable, attainable, timely, realistic goals for yourself. So thinking about, if I want to start running this week, maybe my goal is to get to 5K in 6 weeks or something like that. So something that is like quite specific and that you can measure, and also is something that you think that you can realistically achieve. So you want to set small kind of incremental goals as you go through, and then also maybe think about some long-term goals, whether it's to run a half marathon or even just to run a or maybe just to run a 5K, something like that, so that you have something to work towards. And then that can help set your schedule and your program as well. So there's lots of those programs available online. There's lots of really good running apps for when you're first starting out, but another really good way to get some advice is to come see myself or come and talk to one of our kinesiologists about setting up kind of a program for you.
Awesome. So thank you, Jenna. So at this point now, hopefully you've established a plan, you have your shoes ready, you're all dressed, you're ready to go, and you're ready to go on your run. But before you really jump in to that full main event of going on your big run or whatever it may be, it's important to think about doing a warm-up and gently kind of easing your body into that main event of your run. So when we look at a warm-up, we can generally split it into two phases, the general and the specific. So the general warm-up basically just focuses on raising your heart rate, getting blood flowing throughout the body, and just really warming up your body and your muscles through any sort of like general movement. Now, in terms of getting ready for a run, this general warm-up will usually be about 5 to 10 minutes of an easy run or a jog. Now, if you are very new to running, say you've never ran before or it's been years, try a fast walk, just because, you know, that jog may actually be your running pace. I know that's what happened to me after I stopped running and got back in for a couple of years later. My warm-up was a walk. So really the goal is to just increase your heart rate and kind of ease that transition from, say, being at home, doing nothing, sitting, that sedentary behavior, into exercise. So really, it's not meant to be the main event. It's just meant to get you warming up so that transition feels a little bit easier. After you do that 5 to 10 minutes of just general warm-up, we want to move into a specific warm-up. Now, this is more targeted towards running. So basically, in this specific warm-up, we're going to include very specific drills that target muscle groups that are used during exercise. Now, in terms of running, that is going to be your lower body particularly. So your hamstrings, your quads, your calves, your glutes, basically everything from your waist down, but also we're keeping in mind our core is quite important for running, and just our general body as we kind of focus on our swing of our arms back and forth. So what else can I say? So I'm actually going to demo a couple of dynamic stretches that you can include into your warm-up. So try and include as many as you can, and do them for about 30 seconds each. But if you are short on time, no worries, just pick, say, like 2 or 3 to do after your warm-up, and then you can get right into your run after that. So I'm just going to adjust my camera a little bit. So the first one that we are going to review is called a toy soldier. And the reason why it's called toy soldier is because we essentially act as if we're a toy soldier, kicking our legs up and down. So with this, keep your legs nice and straight and your arms nice and straight. You're gonna feel it in your hamstrings, a little bit of a stretch. Remember with this one, you keep your back nice and straight and also your legs nice and straight. We don't want to kick our legs up like this, nice and straight. Aiming with our fingers towards our toes. Another hamstring one that we can do is we keep our back nice and straight. We kick one leg forward, we bend at the hips, and then we swing our arms back and forth. I like to swing my arms for about 2 or 3 times before I either take a step forward or move my leg and switch out to the other side. So again, this one targets those hamstrings. So those muscles on the back of your thigh, and you just transition back and forth for about 30 seconds. Afterwards, you can try some leg swings. So generally that just means holding on to some secure surface and moving your leg back and forth through some leg swings. You can do forward and back, but you can also do left to right, kind of in front of your body, or you can do ones where you kick back and drive the knee up. And now you can really start to see where we're getting to specific running drills, as this will kind of mimic that movement of kicking your leg up and then back. We can also do some lateral lunges. So back and forth, wide stance. And then as if you're gonna sit back into a chair on one leg and onto the other. Back and forth. Last one I'll show you guys is just a simple butt kick. So as if we're jogging, we're trying to kick our feet up to our butt. And you can do this in place, or you can jog back and forth. Hopefully you have a little bit more space than me. But that'll just get those muscles in your lower body nice and activated, nice and warm. I'm already breaking up a sweat out here, so hopefully you will be too. And now, of course, if you do have a history of specific injuries, now is also a good time to incorporate those into your plan. So say a previous ankle injury or hip, back, core, anything like that. Get them nice and warmed up. Alrighty. So a couple things to avoid when we're getting into running for the first time or getting back into running after a period of time is overtraining. So we want to focus on working hard and getting those runs in, but we also want to be mindful of taking rest days, cross training, and really finding a balance between getting in your runs, but not doing so much that you're going to burn yourself out. And another thing we want to focus on is just making sure we're not progressing too quickly. So obviously the best way to get better is to keep going and to make your runs more challenging, but over time, really try to not jump too far. So really try to manipulate only about one variable per week. So that could be like maybe a little longer, maybe a more challenging route, a little bit more time, less walking break, pushing the pace, anything like that. Try to only change one of those per week. That way you're not going to put yourself at risk for injury by progressing too quickly. This one kind of goes without saying, but be mindful of the conditions that you're running in. So inform people of the route you're going to be taking, where you're going, how long. Edmonton has a lot of great trails that are quite busy and populated, so those are always great to hit if you're not feeling super confident. Run during a good time of the day, not during the middle of the night. Be mindful of the weather. Wear some bright colored clothing so you're visible to everyone on the road. And then also make sure you bring your phone, your keys, and some cash. Because if you're ever stranded, it's always good to have those 3. Trust me, it just happened to me. Another one that kind of goes without saying, but Be careful of the foods that you introduce before a run. Sometimes running can upset people's tummies. So try not to have a heavy meal or unfamiliar foods right before a run. And then finally, probably the best tip I received as a runner is to slow down and take breaks. Really, when you're trying to get back into running or get into running for the first time, one of the challenges is building up your endurance so you can go for those like longer distances. And the best way to really go about that is just slow down, dial it back, take it easy, and then it really just makes running a bit more of an enjoyable experience if you're not dreading it and feeling exhausted by the end of your run. So scale it back, take it easy, be mindful of your pace, and just take breaks as you need them. There's no shame in it, really.
All right, thank you for that, Maddie. Okay, so now we're going to recover after our run. So first things first, after your run, you want to cool down. That usually involves a 5 to 10 minute walk. Just helps bring down that heart rate and prepares you for what would be your next step, which is static stretching. With static stretching, there's a couple different stretches you can use. I don't have room to show them to you here, so I'll just explain a few. So pigeon pose, the standing squat stretch, hamstring stretch, calf stretch, the Sagittarius and wall candles are all great stretches you can look into. Again, Jenna or myself or Maddie would be great options to show you these stretches. Yeah, and then from there, we're going to look at hydrating and nutrition. Very important after your run. So you want to make sure you're drinking lots of water, and then eating light foods, as Maddie mentioned before with nutrition. So a couple of things would be a protein shake, fresh fruit smoothies. I've heard chocolate milk is great after a run. Tuna, salmon, chicken, lighter meats, or nuts, things that are higher in protein but light. From there, ice baths. Now, I've used ice baths with a lot of my sports and running, and I swear by them. So I know there's studies that suggest about 10 to 15 minutes in an ice bath. It helps bring down the inflammation in the muscles, and personally, I think it helps a lot. So yeah, this is a big one. And then from there, booking a massage, foam rolling, or ISTM, or known as muscle scraping. Yeah, book a massage. I usually say with massages, I usually suggest 4 weeks. Maybe when you're starting off running, you might want to come in a little bit sooner. Maybe we'll do like 2 to 3 weeks, and then we'll kind of go from there, get you to that 4-6 week range. Foam rolling, I always suggest foam rolling is big on the longer muscles. So foam rolling your adductors, your hamstrings, your quads. And then from there, you can use a Theragun or a lacrosse ball to hit the more smaller muscles like your glutes, your piriformis, your TFL, etc. And then muscle scraping. Muscle scraping is a metal tool that is done, and it's really good for helping the healing process and quickens it quite a bit, actually. And yeah, I think that should be it for your recovery process.
Awesome. So starting a running program, I will give you that warning, is going to come with its challenges. It's anything from like staying motivated to actually go out and do your runs, preventing burnout, and really rehabbing any potential injury that comes your way are going to be challenges that likely you'll face in your kind of adventures with running. Now, very luckily here at Human Integrated Performance, we actually do offer a range of services that touch on all of these areas. So I'm a kinesiologist, so I can help really put together a program for you that helps best get you ready for running. So say if you do want more targeted guidance towards how to get into running for you specifically, rather than following a program, I can do that. We have physiotherapy and chiropractics. If you do have an injury that comes your way, they can specifically do rehab therapies and combine it with my own skill set to rehab that injury and keep you strong and healthy as you move forward. Of course, massage to help in your recovery and to just generally make your muscles feel good, both pre and post performance. And then don't forget about psychology, which can help you provide with some mental strategies to really take your performance to the next level, if this is something you want to take as a long-term habit. One of the great parts is that we offer all these services under one roof. So you get the benefits of a multidisciplinary team where we get to talk to one another and provide the best program for you so you can take on your running with confidence.
Awesome, great info, guys. So just kind of to wrap everything up, I'm just going to do kind of a quick review of everything that we've talked about. You're welcome to go back and watch this video again too if there's anything that you missed that you want a little bit more detail on. But yeah, so if we started out kind of busting some of those very common running myths. Running is good for your knees. No one is too old or too anything to start running. And then, yeah, as we kind of talked about before, try to avoid those static stretches before you're running. And when you're first starting, make sure you've got some good shoes, make sure you've got a good program to start with. And then book in an appointment if you're feeling a little bit lost and you feel like you need a little bit more guidance with that. And then when it comes to the actual run itself, make sure you're doing a little bit of a warm up too. Definitely a dynamic warm up, getting the heart rate up first, and then targeting some of those bigger muscle groups that are involved when you run. So definitely your calves, definitely your quads, definitely your glutes, definitely your hammies. Make sure that you're kind of getting those nice and loose and ready for the load that you're about to kind of bring onto them. And then, as Maddie said, trying to avoid any overtraining, trying to avoid going too hard, too fast. That's often when we start to run into injuries, is when we start to do things that our body just isn't quite prepared for, when our capacity of our muscles or our joints or our ligaments or our tendons don't quite reach the amount of load that you're putting onto it. So a little bit of a mismatch there often happens when we start to do stuff too fast that our body's just not quite ready for. And then Sean gave us some awesome advice on what we can do after our runs to start the recovery process. So doing a cool down, very important. Doing some static stretches feels really nice to help keep yourself feeling loose after a run. And then booking in a massage or trying to do some other stuff to take care of the whole body. So making sure you're hydrated, making sure you're eating well, and replenishing those stores that you kind of used for the energy while you were running. So that's pretty much it for our review. And then our last slide here, we're just have our contact info. So I have my email there, I have Maddie's email there, and Sean's email. So you're welcome to email any of us if you have any specific questions about anything that we talked about today. Our phone number is on there as well, so you're more than welcome to give us a call, as well as our website if you want to learn a little bit more about what we do here at HIP. And then there's just where to find us. So we're in the West Block building. It's kind of right on the corner of Stony Plain and 142nd Street. And I think that's about it, unless anyone has anything else they want to add. Doesn't look like it. Okay, well, thank you guys for watching.